Look, it's simple. Street photography, it's about capturing the essence, the raw truth of the moment. You set your aperture wide, push the ISO a bit in dim light, and bam, you've got a story.
But you see, Gary, it's not just about the settings. It's about seeing, understanding the decisive moment. Your technique might be sound, but without that vision, you're just another man with a camera.
Vision, sure, but let's not discount the role of serendipity. Sometimes you're just in the right place, right time, and the shutter clicks. It's an instinct, you feel it in your bones.
Serendipity? Please, it's anticipation, predicting the moment before it unfolds. It's knowing your surroundings so well that you can sense the photograph before it even happens.
Anticipation, yeah, but don't make it sound so mystical. It's about being there, pounding the pavement, day after day. You've got to be relentless.
Being there is one thing, but what truly matters is what you see and how you see it. It's about framing, the choice of what to include and what to exclude. The narrative is built by the eyes, not by the legs, my friend.
The narrative might be built by the eyes, but you're not capturing anything without some hustle. You chase the shot, you earn it, and yeah, framing, lighting, all that matters, but don't forget the gut feeling.
Your gut feeling can betray you, leading to cliched images. It takes a refined sensibility to elevate a photograph, to imbue it with the poetry and complexity that transcends the ordinary.
Poetry, sure, but every poem needs its ink, and in our case, it's the light. How you manipulate it, how you play with shadows, it can turn the mundane into the extraordinary.
Light is crucial, but without a profound connection to the subject, without that empathy, your photographs may lack soul. It's not just about exposing film or a sensor. It's about exposing your audience to new ways of seeing.
I get your point about connection, but let's not get too lofty. A photograph speaks to those who look at it, sure, but first, you've got to capture it. And capturing it means knowing your gear inside out, being ready to react.
Knowing your gear is fundamental, but let's not reduce photography to mere reaction. It's an art, a meditation, an interaction with the world. It's about presenting a perspective that challenges, that moves, that whispers something new.
Art, meditation, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it's about the print. It's about what you leave behind, the stories you tell.
Stories, yes, but stories imbued with authenticity, with a spirit that speaks to the human condition. That's what separates the forgettable from the unforgettable.
Unforgettable or not, it's about doing the work, hitting the street, camera in hand. That's where the real magic happens.
And with every click, we strive to capture not just what is, but what could be, opening doors to the unseen, the unexplored.
Right, it's capturing life in all its beauty and its chaos. That's the essence of photography.
Precisely, Gary. Photography captures a slice of time, embedding it with our own vision, forever inviting others to look, to remember, and to dream.
Let's cut to the chase, Henry. Your whole philosophy revolves around this decisive moment. But what does that really mean? In the chaos of life, how do you snag that split second that tells the whole story?
Gary, it's not about snagging randomly. It's about anticipation, feeling the pulse of the street, the rhythm of life. My Leica is merely an extension of my eye, and through the viewfinder, life's gestures and expressions reveal themselves. The decisive moment is that rare alignment of the external world with my internal vision.
Sounds like a bunch of romantic nonsense to me. You talk about anticipation, but aren't you just as surprised as anyone when you actually get something worth printing?
Surprise is the cousin of discovery, Gary. But there's nothing nonsensical about understanding human behavior, the patterns of movement in a public space, and predicting the climax of those movements. It's not luck. It's the result of observation and experience.
Observation, sure, but let's not get lofty about it. I'm pounding the pavement just like you, maybe more, and what I see is the gritty reality of the street, not some poetic moment you wait to unveil itself. I shoot, and shoot some more. It's a numbers game.
But there lies our fundamental difference. You spray bullets hoping to hit a target, while I wait for the moment the target reveals itself. It's not about quantity, Gary, but the significance of the moment. The world is full of noise, and I seek the melody within.
Melody, huh? You make it sound like there's some divine order in the chaos. Well, I say chaos is just that. There's no preordained moment that's more important than any other. What's decisive is the photographer's choice to capture one moment over another.
Indeed, the choice is decisive, but not arbitrary. The moment chooses us as much as we choose it. It's a dance, a mutual recognition. Your approach dismisses the profound connection between the photographer and the moment, reducing it to mere happenstance.
Profound connection? More like profound luck. I'm not dismissing anything, I'm being realistic. The street doesn't perform on cue, and there's no mutual recognition. You see what you see, you shoot what you shoot. The real skill is in recognizing what's worth shooting.
Perhaps, but recognizing what's worth shooting is guided by an intuitive understanding of the moment's potential significance. It's that intuition, owned over years, that transforms a simple photograph into a narrative. Your cynicism, Garry, overlooks the depth of connection that guides those of us who wait for the moment instead of chasing it.
Depth of connection or depth of pretension. Look, we're both out there doing our thing. You with your poetry, me with my reality. Let's leave it at that.
Agreed. Though our methods diverge, our passion for capturing life unites us. Let that be our common ground.
Let's cut to the chase here, Henry. You've walked into countless new worlds, each with its own rhythm, its own pulse. How do you waltz in with your camera, not as an intruder, but as a shadow among their streets?
Garry, it seems you view the camera almost as a weapon, a tool of intrusion. But for me, it's an extension of my being. To enter a new environment is to become a student of its dance. I watch, I learn, and only then do I raise my Leica.
A student, huh? Even when your shutter clicks are snapping away the soul of a moment?
The soul of a moment cannot be stolen, only shared. This snapping away, as you call it, requires an invisible thread of trust, an unspoken agreement between the subject and myself. It's a seduction of sorts. The scene must invite me in.
Trust, seduction. Seems like you're talking about a dance indeed. But what about the critics claiming you're just cherry-picking exoticism for the Western gaze? How do you ensure you're not painting a caricature?
Critics see what they want to see. My endeavor has never been about pleasing the Western gaze, or any gaze for that matter. It's about capturing a universal human truth that resonates regardless of the geography. This, unfortunately, is something critics often overlook in their haste to categorize and critique.
Universal human truth, a lofty goal.
Indeed, it is. Yet, isn't that what we as artists strive for? To reveal a truth, a moment of purity amidst the chaos? It's not merely documenting, it's revealing a layer of reality that isn't immediately apparent.
And so you walk into these layers of reality with your camera. You ever worry about getting it wrong, about your lens distorting rather than uncovering these truths?
Every artist worries about misinterpretation, but fear of distortion shouldn't paralyze us. It should drive us to look deeper, to refine our gaze. The camera, in skilled hands, reveals rather than obscures.
Skilled hands, or just hands shielded by the privilege of an outsider's lens.
Garry, there's a thin line between skepticism and cynicism. Yes, I'm an outsider, but is it not the role of the artist to observe, to interpret, to question? My lens is a bridge, not a barrier.
A bridge, interesting way to put it. But it's one thing to build bridges and another to cross them. Ever feel like you're just standing on the edge?
Every time I raise my camera, I cross that bridge. The photograph is proof of the journey, Garry. Do you not see your own work as such? A crossing from observation to revelation?
Observation to revelation. Can't argue with that. But it's the crossing that's murky. Seems like we're both navigating fog-painted bridges, Henry.
Perhaps so. But isn't it the fog that makes the crossing worthwhile? After all, clarity gained too easily seldom resonates as deeply.
You've got these images, right? They hang right there on the line between what folks call art and what they see as the bare bones of photojournalism. How do you keep your story straight without tipping too far one way?
My friend, it is crucial yet a delicate endeavor. Every frame I capture, it's about harmony. Composition, that is key. You can tell a story, but if it doesn't sing visually, who will listen?
Harmony, sure. But doesn't sticking to this harmony of yours compromise the raw truth that comes blasting through in a good piece of photojournalism? Seems to me like you're dressing it up, making it pretty for the galleries.
Not at all. The essence of photojournalism is capturing truth, yes, but why must it be ugly? The aesthetics, the composition, they amplify the truth, highlight it. It is not dressing up, it's revealing the soul of the scene.
Sounds to me like you might risk losing the gut punch of reality for the sake of some artful composition.
Garry, it's not about losing anything. It's about balance. An ugly truth can be compelling, sure, but imagine conveying that same truth with a composition that draws the viewer in, makes them ponder. That's the power of blending these worlds.
And who's to say what the perfect balance is, huh? Seems subjective. What works for one might seem overdone or even pretentious to another.
But there lies the challenge and the beauty of our craft. Understanding this balance is intuitive, something cultivated over years of observing, of feeling. Not everyone will grasp it, and that's perfectly all right.
Intuitive, he says. I'd argue it's more impulsive. See, when I'm out there, it's about the moment, the raw, unfiltered scene. No time to ponder composition. It's instinct.
Yet, even in impulse, there's a kind of inherent composition, Garry. You may not frame it with conscious thought, but your instincts do. It's why one photograph speaks volumes while another murmurs.
Maybe, but let's not pretend every snap's a symphony. There's merit in the unrefined, the spontaneous.
Indeed, there is merit in all approaches. Yet, we must not confuse spontaneity with the absence of insight. Each photograph, whether considered art or photojournalism, conveys a message. How we choose to present this message is our voice. Surely you understand the responsibility in our voices?
Responsibility, sure, but my responsibility is to the moment, not to some preconceived notion of beauty or composition. It's the rawness, the immediacy that counts.
And yet, without a conscious or subconscious effort towards composition, your moments could lose their voice amidst the noise. It's not merely about the immediate, but about echoing through time.
Echoing through time, he says. Well, there's no telling what'll echo and what'll fade away. I say keep snapping, let the images fall where they may.
A prolific approach, indeed. Yet, we must not be aimless in our snapping. Each image, a testament to the moment and our interpretation of it. It's a dance, Garry, between the world and our lenses. Let us not tread clumsily.
So you said your camera acts as your sketchbook, Henry. That's a romantic notion, but doesn't that limit spontaneity, making every shot too contemplated?
On the contrary, Garry, the point isn't to mull over each shot as if one were painting a fresco. It's about having a tool that's ready, that becomes an extension of the eye and the mind. The Leica allows for that. It's compact, unobtrusive, it lets me work unencumbered.
Unencumbered, you say? I find that planning a shot, thinking of it as a sketch, injects a preconception that might taint the raw truth a street scene offers spontaneously.
But the spontaneity you speak of benefits immensely from discipline. Compare it to jazz. Improvisation is key, but it is grounded in mastering the instrument. My Leica and I are like a jazz duo. The spontaneity comes from knowing it inside out.
Jazz duo, huh? I think of my camera more as a net, catching life as it swims by. Sure, you need to know your gear, but it's not about playing in unison. It's about the catch, Henry.
A net is passive, Garry. A sketchbook is active, signaling engagement with the subject. With a camera regarded as a sketchbook, each frame becomes an active search for meaning, not just a passive receipt of the world's random unfolding.
Active engagement, sure. But does that not then frame every shot as a decisive moment? Life isn't always so neatly composed. Sometimes it's the mess, the blur, the grain that tells the truth.
Yet, the decisive moment doesn't imply neatness nor composition alone. It's about capturing the essence of a situation, the point at which the visual and emotional elements intersect, regardless of the mess. A sketchbook mindset guides us to recognize these intersections.
But don't you ever feel that this mindset might put you at risk of missing the forest for the trees? Focusing too hard on capturing essence can sometimes blind you to the simple beauty of the mundane.
Any artist runs that risk, Garry. The challenge lies in balance, in ensuring that our search for essence doesn't detract from the beauty inherent in the everyday. The sketchbook philosophy is about readiness, not restriction. It prepares us to see beauty, whether in the mundane or the monumental.
Readiness, balance, jazz. I'll give you that, Henry. Maybe there's room for a sketchbook approach amidst the chaos of the streets after all. But let's not forget, the streets don't always play by the rules of composition and essence. Sometimes they're just streets.
True, Gary. And it's in those moments, the uncomposed, the chaotic, where the true skill of the photographer, the artist, is tested. Whether through a sketchbook or a net, it's our job to make sense of that chaos, to find the music in the noise.
Your decisive moment, Henry, it's become somewhat of a photographic gospel. But don't you ever find it a bit constricting? Like a straitjacket on creative spontaneity?
Gary, for you perhaps, trapped in the tyranny of the street, it might seem so. But the decisive moment isn't about constriction. It's understanding the rhythm of life, knowing when elements compositionally and emotionally align. It's precision, not prison.
Precision's fine, but what about when the world's messy, unpredictable? You can't tell me you've never doubted this philosophy of yours as you watched life unfold in all its untidiness.
Doubt? Of course, there are moments of question. That's the nature of pursuing any form of art. But it's in the pursuit, the challenge of capturing that decisive moment where the essence lies. It evolves, Gary. With each click, my understanding deepens. My appreciation for the chaos and order of the world grows.
Evolves, huh? Sounds like you're admitting the whole concept is a bit mutable. Seems to me like you're saying it's more about the photographer's intuition than any hard and fast rule.
You misunderstand me, perhaps deliberately. Intuition, yes, plays its role, but it's underpinned by a rigorous discipline, a profound understanding of geometry, form, and the ephemeral nature of time. This isn't mere happenstance photography we're talking about.
But there's got to be more than just geometrical alignment, Henry. Life isn't composed of just perfectly arranged scenes waiting for your shutter. What about the raw, the unrefined, the spontaneous? Don't tell me the candid chaos of the streets doesn't sometimes sway your philosophy.
Candid chaos? You speak as if the decisive moment precludes the raw or unrefined. On the contrary, it demands a deeper engagement with the spontaneous. It's about being so in tune with the scene that you can anticipate, feel that imminent convergence of meaning, however unrefined or chaotic it may appear.
Anticipate, feel. Sounds a lot like intuition to me, Henry.
It's both, Gary. A dance between instinct and intellect. Why reduce photography to mere dichotomies? The decisive moment encompasses both, the seen and the felt, the planned and the unforeseen.
All right, Henry, let's say I buy into this dance of yours. How do you reckon this philosophy holds up with all the advancements today? Photography's not just your little Leica anymore. We're bombarded with images, moments captured and lost in the blink of an eye.
Progress, technology, they change the tools, not the soul, Gary. The decisive moment transcends the mechanical. It's about vision, seizing the fleeting essence of reality, regardless of the device in hand. The soul of photography remains unchanged amidst the noise and haste.
Soul of photography, eh? I'll give you that, Henry. Despite our differences, it seems we're both chasing the same thing. That slice of reality, that moment of truth.
Indeed, Gary, and in that pursuit, there's more that unites us than divides. The quest is eternal, the decisive moment an ever-evolving testament to the relentless, beautiful pursuit of truth.
Technological advancements, Henry, they're changing the very fabric of what we do. Now, are they ruining photography or pushing it forward? What's your take?
The essence of photography, Gary, is to capture the transient instant in a frame. These technologies, they offer tools, yes, but they also risk diluting the purity of that essence. It's not about how advanced your camera is, it's about seeing, truly seeing.
But isn't it hypocritical? We've moved from bulky view cameras to Leicas that allow us to be flies on the wall. Isn't digital just another step?
There's a chasm of difference between enhancing mobility and manipulating reality, Gary. A Leica empowers you to capture the moment as it is. Digital manipulation, on the other hand, can betray the reality, creating something that never was.
Photoshop, Lightroom, they're just modern darkrooms. We've always manipulated dodge and burn, contrast. What's the difference?
The difference, my friend, is in the intention. Dodging and burning to enhance what the light reveals is one thing. Fabricating elements or altering scenarios crosses the line from photography into something else entirely. Photography is truth, or it should be.
Truth? Photography is subjective, always has been. We choose what to frame, what moment to capture. Isn't that manipulation of reality, too?
Choice of frame and moment, Garry, does not equate to altering the fabric of what was there. It is about emphasizing a perspective, yes, but not fabricating it. There is a line, even if fine, between interpretation and deceit.
So, you're saying digital has no place in photography?
No, I wouldn't dismiss it entirely. Digital photography democratizes the art form, broadens its reach. My contention is with the ease of manipulation, which can lead to an erosion of photographic truth. It's about how we use the tools, not the tools themselves.
Fine, but technology also introduces new forms of art. Can't we embrace the change rather than resist it?
Embrace change, yes, but not at the expense of our principles. Photography must maintain its integrity, its commitment to truth. Innovation should not forsake the essence.
And who decides what integrity means in photography? It's always evolving.
The onus is on us, the photographers, to keep the essence alive, Garry. We must adapt, yes, but also uphold the standards that define photography as an art form. The moment we lose sight of that, we lose photography itself.
So, Henry, you initially dabbled in painting before switching to photography. How has that influenced your work? You can't deny the two are worlds apart.
My painting background acts as the backbone of my photographic vision, Garry. It's about composition, light, and moment. These elements are universal in the arts. Painting taught me to see, not just look.
But photography captures reality. Painting, it's more about what's in the artist's head. How do you reconcile that difference?
It's not about reconciliation, it's about integration. Painting trained my eye to understand the geometry within a frame, the balance, and how elements interact. Photography, on the other hand, demands an immediate grasp of the unfolding scene. They're complementary, not contradictory.
Immediate grasp, sure. But doesn't relying on those painterly instincts risk making your photography too calculated?
Calculated? No, I'd say it allows for a deeper intuition. Look, every photographer, including you, Garry, operates on instincts. Our experiences shape these instincts. Painters, sculptors, musicians, they all rely on an internalized understanding of their craft to create spontaneously.
Spontaneity in capturing a fleeting moment, I get. But doesn't the endless pursuit of composition, of that perfect harmony, distract from the rawness, the realness of what's before the lens?
On the contrary, it enhances it. The realness, as you put it, is ever present. It's about being able to organize that chaos into a coherent visual statement. That's where an artist's discipline kicks in. Without it, you're merely a bystander with a camera.
Discipline. I chase the streets, Henry. The unpredictability, the mess of life, that's where the truth lies, not in some perfectly balanced composition.
And yet, without a semblance of order, your truth would be unintelligible. Chaos needs context. The geometry, the discipline I speak of, doesn't sanitize the scene. It amplifies its essence.
Essence, huh? Maybe. But don't you ever long to break free from that rigidity? Photography's a different beast from painting. It's alive, unpredictable.
Rigidity? My approach is far from rigid, Garry. It's about being fluid enough to adapt, yet grounded in the fundamentals. Like jazz, there's a structure, but within that structure, there's boundless freedom to improvise.
Jazz, eh? Well, I can't argue with that. But remember, even jazz has its dissonances. Sometimes it's the off note that hits you hardest.
Precisely. And would those dissonances, those off notes, resonate as powerfully without the melody, without the rhythm? It's the structure that allows them to stand out, to stir something within us. That's what I strive for in my photography.
Ethics, Henry? You speak of ethics in photography, but here we are, inundated by digital manipulation that blurs the line between reality and fiction. Isn't this the exact opposite of what photography should be about?
Ethics, indeed, Garry. The authenticity of the moment captured. That's the essence. The digital age may have blurred lines, but the principle remains unchanged. Photographers must not relinquish their responsibility for truth.
But truth, everyone's truth, is somewhat bent in this era. You snap a picture, toss it into some software, and presto, you've got something that never truly existed.
Precisely the dilemma. Yet the onus falls upon us, the photographers, to discern. My stance has never wavered. The photograph must emerge from the scene itself, not the post-production trickery.
Trickery seems to be the new norm. Caught myself staring at shots, wondering how much of it was real and how much of it was clever dexterity with sliders and masks.
Dexterity should be in the capture, Gary, not in post. We guard the sanctity of the moment. We are the documentarians of reality. Digital or not, the ethical boundary should not be crossed.
Ethical boundary? More like a chasm these days. It's all fine and dandy to talk about the sanctity of the moment, but when the whole world is hell-bent on doctoring their visuals, what's a purist supposed to do? Stand by and watch?
No, not stand by. We uphold, we educate, we demonstrate the immense power of a single, undisturbed, authentic moment. It's not merely nostalgia, Gary. It's about preserving the essence of photographic truth.
Preserving truth in a sea of falsity? Sounds like a Sisyphean task, if you ask me. The masses are enchanted by the spectacle, not the authenticity.
Perhaps, but change begins with resistance, Gary. If we abandon the principles set by the forefathers of this craft, we abandon the craft itself. Our role is not to capitulate, but to lead, with each shot we take, and choose not to manipulate.
Lead, huh? And what happens when no one follows, Henry? We're relics of an age that appreciated the raw moment, not the concocted scene.
Being a relic is not synonymous with obsolescence, Gary. It's about being the lighthouse in a tempest-tossed sea. Some may ignore the light, but for those seeking land, it's salvation. We provide the beacon for genuine art in photography.
Beacons and lighthouses. Romantic, Henry, but pragmatically we're being drowned out by the noise.
Then we must strive to make our signals ever brighter, Gary. To retreat is to concede defeat to the mediocrity of manipulation. Authenticity will always find its audience, however small.
Or however dwindling. But sure, let's be beacons and light the way with pure, unadulterated photography. For what it's worth, I'm with you, stubbornly so. Let's cut to the chase, Henry. You often say, put the camera away, live in the moment. But isn't that rich? You who captured centuries in milliseconds.
It's not a contradiction, Gary. It's understanding that to truly see, one must sometimes stop looking through the lens. You can't catch the rhythm of life if you're always pressing the shutter.
Spare me. You're telling me you never missed a shot because you were too busy living? I find that hard to swallow.
Missed? Perhaps. Regret? Never. Photography, Gary, is as much about the images we capture as it is about those we choose not to, or those we simply live within. We're not machines, we're artists. There's a tempo, a beat to life that you can only feel when you're not constantly looking for the next shot.
That's poetic, Henry, but it feels like a luxury. I shoot on the street, the unending theater of the unpredictable. Blink and the scene's gone. You talk of rhythm, I talk of reality. Relentless, raw.
But even in that relentless reality, there's a pause, a breath between moments. That's what I'm advocating for. If you're always chasing, you're being led. Stand still, and you guide the moment to you.
Stand still on the street, and you'll get run over, Henry. You know that.
A metaphorical standstill, Gary. It's the internal quiet, the readiness. Yes, the street is unscripted drama, but even actors need to listen, to absorb. If you're always projecting, when do you receive?
You make it sound like some spiritual quest. It's photography, Henry. It's real life, caught in the act.
And isn't life itself a quest, Gary? Photography at its core is about understanding life, not just documenting it. The camera is but a tool. Our most powerful instrument is our perspective, our ability to see and not just look.
Perspectives, quests. Let's not drift into the clouds. It's about the shot, the frame, the grain. It's about being there, camera in hand, ready.
Yes, readiness is key, but so is silence. The silence within us that allows the world to speak, to reveal its secrets. It is in those moments when we are truly present that the decisive moment reveals itself.
So, we're back to this decisive moment then. What if it's just luck, Henry? Right place, right time.
Luck? No, Gary. It's the dance of preparation and instinct. One can be in the right place at the right time, but still fail to see. To capture the essence, you must first be open to it, attuned. It's not mere presence. It's presence of mind, of spirit.
Presence of spirit, huh? You might have a point. But don't forget, Henry, while you're attuning your spirit, I'll be snapping the shot.
And therein lies the beauty of our craft, Gary. Two paths, one destination, the immortalization of a moment. Our methods differ, but the pursuit is shared.
Henry, we're nearing the end here, but there's something gnawing at me. Every fresh-faced kid with a camera dreams of nailing those decisive moments, of making something eternal. What's your gut telling you to tell them?
It's simple. Don't chase ghosts. Photography is a craft, not a wild goose chase. You see, Gary, the decisive moment isn't just about snapping at shadows. It's about recognizing the symphony in the everyday, the silence between the notes.
That's rich, coming from you. Always thought you were about catching life on the run, all those fleeting glances.
There's more to it. It's seeing layers, depth, beyond the surface. But your work, it bulldozes through the subtleties. No offense, but it's brute force over finesse.
Finesse? I capture life, not stage it. And there's something to be said for the raw, the unpolished. Not everyone lives in a world that's prim and proper, Henry.
Ah, but there's where you misstep. The rawness you speak of, it needs a guiding hand, or it's just chaos. A true photographer harmonizes the chaos, doesn't just regurgitate it.
Harmonize. You make it sound like we're conducting an orchestra. But all right, if we're passing down wisdom, mine's this. Forget the rules. The world's messy, photography's messy. Dive into it, swim in it, but bring back something real, something tangible.
And there we part ways, Gary. The world is indeed a chaotic mess, but our role is to find the order within, to illuminate the structure that underpins the chaos. Without that, it's all just noise.
Order, chaos. What I hear is, you're telling them to find their own rhythm, their own beat in the cacophony. I can live with that. Although I suspect we're envisioning very different pictures.
Perhaps, but let that be their quest, to find beauty in the discord, to capture not just what is there, but what's about to unfold. The world doesn't pause for us. We have to snatch those fractions of a second from the jaws of time.
Snatch from the jaws of time. Now there's an image. All right, Henry, let's leave it at that. They've got their lifelong assignment to catch time itself in all its unruly beauty.
Indeed, Gary. Let's hope they carry it out with both the urgency of a fleeting moment and the patience of a lifetime.
Let's get one thing straight, Henry. You've been harping on about this decisive moment as if it's the holy grail of photography, but isn't it just common sense dressed in fancy words? It's about being there and snapping the shot, period.
Ah, but Gary, you're missing the essence. It's not merely about being present and capturing, it's about foreseeing, feeling the moment before it unfolds. It's poetry, not just mechanics. You can be there all day with your camera, shooting away. But if you cannot anticipate, if you cannot connect, you're just a man with a machine, nothing more.
Anticipate, feel, poetry. Sounds like a lot of romantic hogwash to me. It's about hitting the streets, camera in hand, and grabbing life by the collar. You wait around for the perfect moment, you'll miss life buzzing right past you.
And yet, without discernment, your work risks becoming a mere catalog of the banal. It is about selection, choosing the moment that speaks, that transcends the ordinary. That is the difference between a photograph that is simply seen and one that is felt.
See, that's where you and I fundamentally differ. Your world is black and white, waiting for perfection. Mine is color, messy and in your face. I don't wait for life to happen, I dive into it. If that means my work is banal to your elevated tastes, so be it. Better than sitting on the sidelines.
Diving into life without reflection leads to superficiality. My work seeks to uncover the soul beneath the surface, to reveal the unseen layered nuances of the human condition. That cannot be achieved without restraint, without the selective eye which discerns the moment worth immortalizing.
Soul, unseen layers, human condition. Listen to yourself, Henry. Photography is about capturing the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Your selective eye is just a fancy term for hesitancy. While you're waiting for the perfect shot, I've taken 100.
100 photographs, Gary, and what do they amount to? Noise, clutter, devoid of deeper meaning. I seek the singular image that can stand the test of time, a testament to the era, an insight into the human psyche. It's not about quantity, but the enduring quality of the shot.
Enduring quality, my foot. It's about raw, unfiltered reality. Your era, your insight, it's all just a prism through which you view the world, skewed by your own biases. The true essence of photography is in capturing life, unvarnished and unapologetic. Anything else is just painting with a camera.
You fail to see, Gary, that every choice we make with the camera, Where we point it, when we choose to release the shutter, is a reflection of our own vision, our interpretation of the world. There is no such thing as unvarnished reality in photography. There is only the reality we choose to frame.
Frame, interpret, choose, words, words, words. At the end of the day, it's about the image. And an image, Henri, doesn't need your philosophy to be powerful. It just needs to be real.
And yet, without philosophy, without intent, the image becomes ephemeral, easily forgotten. It is the thought, the emotion behind it, that imbues it with power, making it resonate with the viewer long after they've looked away.
Well, Henri, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree. Your way sees through a narrow lens, waiting for the world to fit your frame. I take the world as it comes, wide lens, no waiting.
Perhaps, Gary, but in that rush to capture everything, you risk capturing nothing of lasting value. It is in the waiting, in the discerning eye, that true artistry is found.
Let the viewers decide then, Henri. What resonates more, the captured moment or the waited for moment? In the end, it's their eyes, their hearts that matter.
Indeed, let them. But let us not forget, in our quest for capturing moments, to live them too. For what good is a photograph if in taking it, we lose the very essence of the moment itself?
Living moments capturing them. Maybe that's the real art. And on that rare point, Henri, we might actually agree.